Good evening, everyone. This is Melissa Thomas of Florida National News coming to you with the evening news rundown for your Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. And as usual, we like to extend an invitation to anyone who is a business owner or an entrepreneur, corporation. If you're looking for a platform on which to advertise, Florida National News has got 5 different shows to choose from and a couple of great websites. So if you're interested, just shoot us an email at ads@floridanationalnews.com to get started with us. In the meantime, guys, we like to begin our evening news rundown, as always, with the latest COVID-19 reports globally here in the United States and in the state of Florida. And we're going to kind of do something a little bit different. We'll present the numbers, of course, but I do want to invite you guys to leave names in the comments section for anyone that you want us to acknowledge while we're doing these particular COVID-19 reports. Anyone that you know in your family who has overcome the COVID-19 virus or who has unfortunately passed away due to the COVID-19 virus or any complications. And we'll be glad to acknowledge them. So leave your names in the comments below and we'll like to integrate them into our COVID-19 reports, all right? So jumping into the world numbers, according to the World Health Organization, they're reporting over 31.4 million confirmed cases and over 967,000 confirmed deaths. Here in the United States, Johns Hopkins University is reporting over 6.9 million confirmed cases with over 201,000 confirmed deaths. Here in the state of Florida, according to the Department of Health, we're seeing over 690,000 now confirmed cases and over 13,700 confirmed deaths. Now, jumping into our world news story, Canada is seeing a spike in cases as well. So now there is a point of concern for them. They are now at an important crossroads. And this is according to the Public Health Agency. The Public Health Agency said in a statement, quote, "Canada is at a crossroads and individual action to reduce contact rates will decide our path." This is coming on the heels of cases surging due to folks not quite taking stringent precautions. And if folks do not continue to heed those precautions, health officials are warning that the number of cases in Canada could balloon to exceed levels seen during the first wave of the pandemic. Now, according to a worst case scenario outlined by the Public Health Agency, cases could rise more than 1,000 per day to nearly 156,000 cases by October 2nd, with the death toll hitting 9,300. Now, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will appear in a rare evening national broadcast tonight at 6:30 p.m. their time to talk about, quote, "the urgency of fighting COVID-19 as we face down the prospect of a second wave of the virus." Now, Canada's Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Theresa Tam, outlined 3 scenarios for the spread of the new COVID-19 virus between now and January 2022, with the most favorable being a slight uptick now and then a, quote, "slow burn" through next year. Now, TAMs are the latest in a series of warnings from health officials across Canada that the spread of the disease is gaining momentum. Now, Tam said that the surge is different from the first because young people are behind the spread, but she cautioned that this could potentially spill over into high-risk populations. Now, Procurement Minister Anita Anand also announced new agreements in obtaining eventual COVID-19 vaccines for Canada and a first purchase of 150,000 vials of remdesivir. You guys have been hearing us report on remdesivir. This is an antiviral medication that is produced by Gilead Sciences Inc. here in the United States. And Premier Doug Ford, he's the premier of Canada's largest province, Ontario, he said he would begin implementing a 6-point plan to, quote, "tackle a potentially more challenging second wave of COVID-19. He said that this first step is what Ford calls, quote, "the largest flu immunization campaign in Ontario's history." The province invested 70 million Canadian dollars, which is, 52.6 million US, in 5.1 million flu vaccines, which is 700,000 more than last year. Getting a flu shot will help, quote, "take the load and the burden off the backs of hospitals and doctors' offices in a surge of COVID-19. This is according to the premier there. So we'll continue to keep you guys updated. Stay tuned here at Florida National News for more. Coming here to the United States, Wisconsin is now declaring a state of emergency as cases surge on college campuses there. Now, Governor Tom Evers, he says this is something that is of a huge alarm. The word he said was alarming. Tony Evers, excuse me. He said, quote, "We continue to learn more about this virus, but what we do know is that we are facing a new and dangerous phase of the COVID-19 pandemic here in Wisconsin. We are seeing an alarming increase in cases across our state, especially on campus. We need folks to start taking this seriously, and young people especially." So due to the increase in cases, the governor extended a statewide mask mandate, which was set to expire next week, so it's now been extended through November 21st. New cases have had, quote, "unprecedented near exponential growth." This is according to Governor Evers' statement. He notes that from August 31st to September 21st, the number of daily new cases rose from 678 to 1,791, which is a more than double increase in 3 weeks. Within the past month, 18 to 24-year-olds have had a case rate 5 times higher than any other age group in the state, according to state officials, with the increase apparently being driven by social gatherings. Now, the governor's office pointed to the state university system, whose 13 universities have all reopened for in-person learning this fall. And they're pointing to that as a driver in the increasing numbers. Last week, 6 out of 8 Wisconsin cities listed among the top 20 cities in the US where COVID-19 cases were rising fastest are home to University of Wisconsin system campuses. So if you're listening to this and you know someone who's attending a University of Wisconsin system school, or if you yourself are attending, please continue to be careful. Now, tensions, of course, have been escalating in Dane County, which is home to the flagship campus, UW-Madison. Earlier in the week, Dane County Executive Joe Parisi called on the university to go virtual amid rising cases in the county. He said, quote, "Today, as our state surpasses the 100,000 case mark, we find ourselves in the midst of an unprecedented surge in COVID-19 cases fueled largely by the university system's decision to return to in-person classes." Now, he also noted that the rate of infection in the county was 3.5 times higher on Sunday than the 2 weeks prior. So since August 24th, more than 2,650 confirmed cases of COVID-19 have been tied to campus, according to data on UW-Madison's website. So again, if you're attending those colleges, please continue to be careful. And if you're attending college anywhere in the nation, please continue to be careful. You always hear us exhort you here at Florida National News to continue to practice safe social distancing. Always wash your hands, glove them, sanitize them, whatever you have to do, and make sure you practice safe social distancing, okay? Now, jumping here to the state of Florida, and some slight unfortunate news. Florida was doing a bit of a better job in terms of keeping the cases down, but after a 10-day streak of having a less than or 5% positivity cases, Florida has snapped that streak now. So wanted to give you guys a bit more of an update there. Florida health officials reported a slight increase in COVID-19 infections, deaths, and hospitalizations on Tuesday after those 10 days with an infection rate below 5%. And as you guys have heard us report before, 5% is the recommended benchmark, according to the World Health Organization, for any territory that's looking to safely reopen. Now, the Florida Department of Health reported 2,470 new positive cases of the virus on Tuesday, increasing the state's total since March to nearly 688,000. Now, the new cases Tuesday are out of nearly 45,000 tests. Now, the update released by the Department of Health every morning includes how many people have recently died from complications of COVID-19 and how many people have been hospitalized in Florida in the past 6 months. So as of Tuesday, the Department of Health reported 99 new fatalities from the pandemic. Since March, it's been over 13,500 that have passed away in Florida from the virus, which includes 163 non-residents who have died here. The U.S. pandemic toll surpassed the 200,000 mark over the weekend, as you guys know. Now, the positivity rate reported by the Department of Health, comparing the number of new positive cases to test results reported the day prior, was 5.88%, an increase by more than a point. So we'll continue to keep you guys updated on that. The increase breaks that 10 consecutive day streak. However, it's still well below the advised 10%. Again, the key is to remain careful. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back with some more news stories for you guys. Stay tuned.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
All right, guys, welcome back to the Evening News Rundown. In the next U.S. story, the Senate GOP has secured the votes they need to go ahead and vote on the Supreme Court nominee, President Trump's Supreme Court nominee. And Senator Mitt Romney was a pivotal vote. He gave the party the 51 backers they needed to move forward with voting on that particular nominee. Originally, Romney was expected to be a no, given that he has been a kind of a vocal opponent of Trump. He's been a Trump critic, I should say, but he decided to go ahead and vote yes. Now, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has vowed to hold a confirmation vote before the election in November, but a question mark had hung all week over whether or not enough Republicans in the chamber would back him. So now they have the numbers that they need. Now, although they hold a slim majority with 53 seats, two centrist Republican senators, Senator Susan Collins of Maine and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, said they were skeptical of confirming a lifetime judicial appointment in an election year. That's why the number is 51 instead of 53. Now, Senator Collins told reporters she would vote no, saying that the Senate ought to follow the, quote, same set of rules it used back in 2016 to block then President Barack Obama's top court nominee. Senator Collins, she is, of course, facing a tough reelection bid this year as well. Now, for Senator Romney's part, he cited historical precedent as part of his reason for going ahead and saying yes. He said, quote, "My decision regarding a Supreme Court nomination is not the result of a subjective test of, quote, fairness, which, like beauty, is in the eye of the beholder. It is based on the immutable fairness of following the law, which in this case is the Constitution, and precedent. The historical precedent of election year nominations is that the Senate generally does not confirm an opposing party's nominee, but confirms a nominee from one of its own." So again, we'll continue to keep you guys posted on that. As you heard us report yesterday, President Trump has already promised to reporters that he will name his nominee this coming Saturday. So stay tuned here as we continue to keep you guys updated. Now, jumping here to the state of Florida, Orange County Public Schools has given the go-ahead to approve a middle school name in honor of Roberto Clemente. They decided to remove the name, which is a Confederate name, Stonewall Jackson, and change it to Roberto Clemente Middle School. So congrats on that. Community members have been pushing for years to have the name changed. School administrators say they've been reaching out to neighbors, faculty, and students for ideas on a new name. Father Jose Rodriguez of Iglesia Episcopal Jesus de Nazaret said, quote, "Removing the name Stonewall Jackson is closing a chapter on a very dark part of our community's history." Now, Father Rodriguez, who once attended the middle school, has been spearheading the campaign to rename it. Now, the finalists for a new name are Diversity Middle School, Seminole Creek Middle School, and Roberto Clemente. So, of course, Roberto Clemente won out. The district says it will cost around $20,000 to change all the signage and logos, but that name is officially the name of the school. So congrats on that. In the meantime, we're going to take another brief commercial break, and we'll come back with our business story, our sports story, and it is hashtag Worker Wednesday. So the lovely Angel Perry is waiting backstage to join me and drop some truth bombs on the proposed legislation, law enforcement legislation that Governor Ron DeSantis had announced back on Monday. So stay tuned for a very in-depth conversation. We'll be right back.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my honey's clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin clean.
The kid does have a
That's
point.
My honey's clean.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Evening News Rundown. In the business story, Disney's guests are actually praising the safety protocols. 8 in 10 resort guests are saying that the safety protocols are, quote, just right. So this is good for Disney and kind of inspires a little bit more safety and encourages tourism. So it's saying it's getting positive reviews from guests despite all the protocols that are in place, including temperature checks, masks, social distancing, and hand sanitizers, which are just some of the measures that the Mouse House has taken up to keep guests healthy. So they went ahead and did a survey, and the guests said that the protocols are just right. They also shared that they are grateful for the health and safety measures that Disney has put in place across the resort. This is according to Paula Verkuylen with Disney Parks Experiences and Products. Dewan Rivers, who is the vice president of Disney's Animal Kingdom, says, quote, for the most part, they understand that we're taking steps to help protect them, our cast, and everyone at the resort. Now, Disney also says guests are happy they're able to enjoy more of the attractions because of the capacity limits. Now, there are two things that are missing, though, the beloved parades and the nighttime fireworks shows. But of course, there are signs that those may be on the horizon. Right now, the only entertainment is performers at a distance, unannounced character cavalcades, and physically distant character appearances because, of course, social distancing. But as the Mouse House prepares for the holidays, it's having to rethink the experience, much like many other businesses in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly as the climate does get colder. So again, we'll continue to keep you guys updated on that. But in another quote, it says, we're creating all new traditions for our guests to enjoy. Our holiday offerings will, of course, look a little bit different this year, and we're excited to celebrate the seasons in an all new way. So as the local COVID-19 situation improves, Disney says it will be changing the park hours and reopening more hotels. So stay tuned here at Florida National News for more updates. Now, jumping into our sports story, as you guys have noticed the pattern, there are typically some COVID-19 cases going on different campuses or on different teams. So University of Florida is the next one in line for that. There are 3 new confirmed cases with the UF Gators football team. So after last week's spike, the UAA announced that only 3 football players had tested positive for the virus this week, 8 new cases in the Gator athletic department as a whole. So the football program has had 10 positive cases after 514 tests this past month. So Florida will kick off its season this weekend when Dan Mullen's side travels to Ole Miss. The Gators head coach didn't want to go into specifics about what these positive tests mean for the game on Saturday, but he said, quote, on Monday, I'm not going to get into all that stuff. That's not for me to get into, I don't think. I'll give you guys the injury report, but all of that stuff and how that works, I don't know. I'm going to have to brush up on all my medical stuff of how we would let people know if there's anybody of that nature that is out of the game. So I love sports coaches. They're so to the point. Anyway, guys, so that's it for the sports story. So now we are actually going to jump into our hashtag Worker Wednesday conversation with the lovely Angel Perry, who is the Executive Vice President of the Communication Workers of America Local 3108 Union. Welcome.
Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so with Governor Ron DeSantis' announcement on Monday in terms of this particular proposed legislation, it hasn't been passed yet. He wants it to be passed in the next legislative session. But let's break this down for our audience, because there are this one was very heavy in terms of the protections that are in place for law enforcement now as it relates to disorderly activities or violent gatherings. So let's break this down.
Okay, so first, the list is a knee-jerk reaction, feel good, lots of pretty words. Okay, laws have and can have unintended consequences. So when we look at this list, the first thing that comes to my mind is Florida State Constitution says I have a right to due process. The United States Constitution has in it provisions a right to due process. So when you take away the right to bail, to be seen, you're telling officers that once I throw somebody in jail, they're already on punishment. if we go by what this list says that the governor is proposing, like you're automatically saying, well, there's no judge. We don't have time for a jury. You're just going to be locked up and you got to sit there and wait for a judge to have time to see you. That's one. That's how that's listed on here. Some of the other provisions is the disorderly assembly. So you could literally be in a picnic at the park with your family and 7 or more people, somebody skins a knee and have to call an ambulance because somebody got hurt. And if somebody was devious enough to say, hey, they're actually protesting, everybody's in jail, they're slapped with felonies, you don't get to leave, you don't get to go to bail, there's no bail. And it's the unintended consequences of the way this is listed. Some of the other things like no defund the police permitted. So
right, that was interesting.
The governor in Tallahassee is going to tell municipalities what their budgets are. Like, never mind what the taxpayers can afford. That's one. Never mind what, okay, maybe crime has dropped dramatically and the money needs to go to schools. They don't even have that right under this provision. There's so many things. There's a RICO clause in here, RICO liability. So just to simplify it for the general public, if you had that same picnic and you like, oh, this is a family reunion and somebody got hurt, they could say this was a violent assembly or whatever they wanted to label it. And because you organized that picnic, now they get to investigate you like you're the mafia. So all your accounts get frozen, your work gets notified, everybody goes under investigation. RICO means that you are doing organized crime. That's what that means. So with this clause, it's labeled to speak to rioters. Rioters, nobody wants a rioter. Like, that doesn't help anybody. That's violent. First off, we're in Florida. I think we had one mishap in Tampa this whole time compared to 49 other states that had cars overturned, houses burned down. Like, Florida is a peaceful state. Like, we're not all these other states. So for this governor to come out with this list, this fascist list,
wow.
What is your motive? So you got 143 facilities, but 34 of those are the worker camps. So maybe there's incentive for those contractors to have slave labor. I don't know. But it just seems like the motive of this list has nothing to do with addressing rioters. It just doesn't.
Right. And I thought it was interesting, just the list of the newer criminal offenses and in terms of them being felonies, 3rd-degree felonies and 2nd-degree felony. There's now a 2nd-degree felony for destroying or toppling monuments. So if you destroy public property during violent or disorderly assembly, that's a 2nd-degree felony. For you guys who maybe you missed Monday's announcement or you weren't able to, get the details. You have a 3rd-degree felony when 7 or more people are involved in an assembly and cause damage. You have a 3rd-degree felony for anyone that obstructs traffic during an unpermitted protest, demonstration, or violent or disorderly assembly. And the driver is now not liable for any injury or death caused if fleeing for safety from a mob. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So that part right there. So now, if somebody was leaving an event and everybody's excited about their sports team winning, the general public who's driving, I'm annoyed now that I have to wait, that people are crossing the street. I get to run them over. Unintended consequences of this list. I'm just saying, like, people are not, they think because there's a such thing as common sense. I don't know where anybody's been in the last decade. Common sense left in the 60s. Okay. So laws that once they're on the books will be applied to anything.
Precedent.
Because it's precedent. Once this passes, and I know it sounds whimsical to highlight a family reunion or a picnic, but we've seen video after video after video where if somebody doesn't like somebody, they're going to call the police. Oh, they're doing something, and and I don't like it. They're selling lemonade. They're walking their dog. They're jogging. But now it's going to be applied to family events. Oh, there's too many kids outside playing soccer. All of those things would fall under this list that this governor has put out. So people really need to pay attention to what they do every day, and now include, if you have 7 or more of your friends or family with you, if somebody doesn't like you, they get to call the cops. You get slapped with a felony. You don't get bail. You're automatically punished, and there's minimum sentences.
Right. The mandatory minimum, or at least for the one you mentioned earlier, in terms of striking a law enforcement officer, that's a 6-month mandatory minimum.
Right.
And then talk a little bit about the offense enhancements too, because they listed several: for throwing an object, for assault and battery of a law enforcement officer, right, and participation from another state. Like if you come in to the state of Florida from another state to participate, right, in a violent or disorderly assembly. But talk about what the offense enhancements mean.
So, for example, and I don't want anyone to mistake, I am very pro-police. I have friends and family that are police officer, military police. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the unintended consequences of once words are to paper. This is the United States. You have lawyers, judges, and district attorneys that will apply law to whatever they want, that they can convince a judge that this applies to. So, for example, leaving out actual violence, because, if you're attacking a police officer, you need to be punished, period. Like, nobody's saying it's okay to hit a cop. Unintentional consequences is if you're being arrested and say, for whatever reason, this officer was a bad apple, because we have some of those, and they were punching you, and now they have to have medical attention, you are now going to be put down as assault and battery on the cop, because they had to take care of the same police officer that decided to hit you, even though you were peacefully allowing yourself to be arrested. You want to take your day in court or whatever, but because it turned south, now you have the enhancement. So that means they're adding additional charges out of this list. So that's what the enhancement means. Maybe you're getting arrested for, whatever on this list they thought you did. You had a picnic, too many people, somebody skinned their knee. And then now, because the police officer got hurt, however they got hurt, now that there'll be additional charges on what you were arrested for.
Very interesting. Yeah, thank you for breaking that down. And ladies and gentlemen, that for our viewers out there, give us your thoughts on this proposed legislation. Of course, it is proposed, so it's not law yet, but give us your thoughts on it. And if you have questions, like, by all means, write your question in the comment section as well. Angel and I will be glad to kind of respond to you guys, and we have that conversation, keep that conversation going. And what was also interesting, Angel, was kind of the citizen and taxpayer protection measures, that section, because one of the things that is listed there is, if you're someone who participates in a violent or disorderly assembly and you have any state benefits, you are now ineligible for those benefits, and you will no longer be eligible for employment by state or local government if you're ever convicted of that. So, given that unintended consequence that you're talking about, that could also cause a challenge.
So, and in addition, the victim compensation on here. So that can apply to anything. So even if what you were arrested for, or, for example, and this is just because we recently had a 3-year-old pass away due to violence, if the municipality, the city, the state decided that they didn't want to be held liable because this clause is in there, they could use it and say, we don't owe you anything. There's no lawsuit. We don't have to do anything because this one clause, even though this is supposed to apply to riots or whatever, now says that I don't have to pay you for my gross negligence. It states on the victim compensation that the local government is not liable if there's gross negligence. So if you were falsely arrested, you were falsely accused of anything, and you were hurt or killed, oh well, you just get to eat it. You got to figure out the funeral expenses. You got to figure it out. They just tell you whatever. So that includes your house get broken into or the door knocked down. They're not liable for anything. So this is a blanket all to attack citizens, really, for those few bad apples that want to do something wrong. This gives them more fertile ground to do more harm to the general public.
What do you think the answer should be for what the governor was going for? Like, what do you think the legislation should look like, given what he was trying to go for?
So where I'm having trouble is we're not having the issues that he's applying these to. We're not Portland. We're not Wisconsin. We're not New York. We're not any of these places. We're not even Atlanta, which is across the state line. They had more issues with riots and burning and all that stuff. We had one instance that I'm aware of, and it was a sneaker shop out in Tampa, and nobody got hurt. It got addressed and taken care of pretty quickly within a few hours. So, and that was once. So we're not having the issues that he's trying to address. It's like he watched all the news briefings and said, okay, I'm going to have legislation to attack all these news briefings. But the simplest of it, it violates due process. That's the simplest of it. So he's going to have to change the Constitution to void due process. But the United States Constitution also provides due process. So it's not constitutional on state level or federal level. It's just not.
Interesting. So we'll have to leave it there. But thank you so much, as always, Angel, for dropping the truth bombs on us, for sure.
Absolutely.
And again, guys, Angel is available for you guys in the comments. So if you have your questions, your counterpoints, if you're in favor of the proposed legislation, hey, let's have the conversation. We'll see you down in the comments below. But as always, Angel, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys, so we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back and wrap up with our entertainment story. So stay tuned.
There's more than one way to enjoy a Moreno Bakery custom cake. You could smash it, swipe it, love it, cut it, devour it. Moreno Bakery, for every slice of life.
All right, guys, welcome back as we wrap up with the entertainment story for the evening news rundown. Of course, in honor of the recent passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, both movies that were based on her life, RBG and On the Basis of Sex, are set to be re-released. So this is some good news for anyone who didn't quite get the chance to check those movies out and probably want to learn a little bit more about her life story. And of course, Magnolia Pictures and Focus Features are doing this in a tribute to her life. Now, both films were about her, and of course, she passed away on Friday. She had served on the High Court since 1993. So the two movies will play in theaters beginning this coming Friday, alongside availability on on-demand platforms. Magnolia and Focus said they will donate their net proceeds to the ACLU Women's Right Project, which was co-founded by Ginsburg back in 1992. Now, Participant Media, a partner on both films, is mounting a corresponding social tribute campaign, #ThankYouRuth. Now, RBG, which was produced by Magnolia and CNN, and On the Basis of Sex, which was produced by Focus, were both released back in 2018. Now, RBG became one of the top grossing political documentaries of all time and was directed by Betsy West and Julie Cohen. Now, directed by Mimi Leader, the On the Basis of Sex is a biographical drama starring Felicity Jones as Ginsburg. Now, Magnolia and Focus said in a joint statement, quote, Justice Ginsburg spent her life upholding fairness, the law, and the rights of all Americans. These films highlight only a small portion of her legacy to screen, but her vast impact on our country goes far beyond them. We hope that moviegoers are re-inspired by her passion, her courage, and take that back into the world. Speaking on behalf of CNN Films, Amy Entelis, executive producer for talent and content development for CNN Worldwide, said, quote, we never expected the film to generate the reaction that it did. Many people were unfamiliar with her pre-judicial career as a lawyer for the ACLU and how she played such an essential role in securing equal rights, particularly for women, which meant all Americans benefited. So if you're interested in checking out either one of those films, they're now available. They're re-released again, so enjoy. But that does it here for us at the Evening News Rundown, guys. If you haven't yet, be sure to like, follow, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You'll find us at Florida National News on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And on YouTube, be sure not only to click the subscribe button, but also hit the little bell icon to get all the notifications for all of our shows. But in the meantime, a quick reminder for anyone that is interested in sponsoring any of our segments or advertising on our website or during any of our shows, you can shoot us an email at ads@floridanationalnews.com so we can get started with you. But in the meantime, guys, have a great rest of your Wednesday. Take care and continue to stay safe. See you tomorrow.